And welcome back to another fasting episode. Hey, I am right now a little bit shy of my 72 hours. In fact, I am 69 hours into this week's fast. Going to be 70 hours here in just a little bit. And I am feeling amazing. We're going to do a review of fasting, how fasting works, how to prepare for a fast, how to get into a fast, how to successfully make it through a fast, and then, of course, how to break the fast. That's what we're doing here on the channel. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. We're using fasting as a tool. We're breaking free. We're breaking through those obstacles, those barriers, and we're presenting our best selves, our best health, and our best plans for our life. We are not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside of us to stop us from putting ourselves in the space to be successful with our health. I am so excited that you're here. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to give you a hand clap and let you know that I am glad that you're here. If you have questions, make sure you put those in the comments. Make sure you put a Q in front of that so I'll know that that is a question, and we can get to that as we move through our episode today. I'm excited. You know how we do the things that we do. I have got my monitors off here to the side. I've got my reports off to the side that we're going to be taking a look at. In fact, here is this is my glucose meter and my keto moja, which gives me glucose and ketones. And then right down below, that is my Dexcom Clarity app that we'll take a look at here in just a minute. We'll also take a look at what my blood sugars are, and you'll see that on my monitor, which we'll bring up here in just a little while. Whatever platform you are on, I am glad that you're here. Welcome to our episode. Welcome to our show. This is the end of our week show where we do a complete review of fasting. For those of you who are out there who are using fasting to set yourself up for metabolic success. If you've not done so, the shows that we've done this week, right, Dwain Woode MD Live on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central is the path that we are walking down to reverse our diabetes. That's where we are teaching those fundamentals of the limitless living pathway that we are on this year. And then the additional shows that we do through the week on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we are teaching tools. We're working through the process of learning those tools, understanding those tools so that we can use them as we walk down the new year path and the limitless living path. So make sure that you are catching those on a weekly basis. If you've not watched them, go back and watch because we are in the process of doing that. The other thing I wanted to make a plug for is in the morning at 7 a.m. Central, we have our 100-day walk to consistency and health that's going on. We are on day number 17 right now. Okay, day number 17. Some amazing information that we are learning how to be consistent. Most often, the reason we don't have success in several areas of our life, not just health, is one, because we're not consistent, and two, because we don't have structure. We don't have a plan. We don't have a process to go through. And so here on Dwain Woode MD, the goal is to give you a process that is the limitless living process that we'll be doing, walking through that path, and to give you a way of developing consistency. And that's what the 100-day walk to consistency and health is doing, providing that place where you can have some consistency on a consistent basis every morning at 6 o'clock. That comes out, to make sure that you join us. And I've had a lot of people say to me, hey, I'm not walking, or I can't walk, or whatever reason, but they're doing some other things. Like I have one of our community members that actually is rowing. We have people that are lifting while they're listening. We have people who are jogging. We have people who are doing yoga. Whatever the thing is that you're doing, come on. We don't mind. But come on with us, join us, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's about 25 to 30 minutes in the morning, and that sets your day up for success. Do you know it is much simpler, and the day goes much easier when you start it out with a plan? You may have heard me talk about bookending, where we do something in the morning and something in the afternoon or in the evening. So we start the day with a plan and we end the day with a plan. That's what we want to do. So make sure that you go out and you do that. So here we are looking to enhance our abilities, enhance the skills that we have, enhance the tools, and that's what this show is all about. We are fasting. We're using fasting as one of those tools that sets us up for success, that helps us to improve our health and to reverse our diabetes. So fasting is one of the things that we've learned that hits the 3 pillars of reversing diabetes: decreasing insulin, suppressing the appetite, and reducing sugar. So those are 3 of the pillars, or the 3 pillars of reversing diabetes. And we're using fasting as a method to be able to do that. Because when we fast, because we're fasting, our blood sugars go down. When our blood sugars go down, the insulin in our body decreases. When the insulin decreases, that automatically suppresses the appetite or improves the appetite. When it improves the appetite, then we don't eat as much of those carby and sugary things, and so we are decreasing sugar. Notice that. So decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, and reducing sugar. And so that is what we're doing, using fasting as that amazing tool that allows us to do that. So in the process of fasting, I do a check-in, right, on the weekly basis, on those days, usually at 24, 48, 72 hours. Sometimes we're a little off there, but each day we come on and we talk about something different as we are moving through and understanding fasting. So that's, if you're catching us for the first time, that is where we are. That's where we're heading. That is the goal. And so you caught us in one of our check-ins as we are reviewing fasting. The other thing that I want to do and encourage you to do, anytime you are doing anything that is worth, let me say it this way. Anytime you're doing something that you want to change, whenever you are trying to improve something, whenever you're trying to make a shift in your health or other areas of your life, you want to be able to evaluate it. You want to check in with yourself, if you will, check in to see, is that thing giving you the benefit that you thought? How is your body responding to it? How are you doing mentally? How are you doing emotionally related to it? And so when we do our check-in here in just a minute, those are the places that we are going to hit, those 3. How am I doing physically? How am I doing mentally? And how am I doing emotionally? Because those are where often people may find difficulty as they're moving through the fasting space. So let's go ahead and let's do that right now. Let's do our check-in. When we're talking about fasting, it is how we prepare for fast, how do we get through the fast successfully, and then how do we break the fast. But before we can get there, before we can even think about that, or as we're walking through the fast, we want to develop the process of checking in with ourselves in these 3 areas. So regardless of where you are, preparing for the fast, even if you're just now thinking about fasting, and then preparing for the fasting itself, and then breaking the fast, I want you to be thinking about these 3 areas, and that's how you're doing physically, how you're doing mentally, and how you're doing emotionally. Okay, and so for me right now, physically, I am excited. I'm not so well. I'm getting to emotional. But right now, I'm not feeling tired. I'm not feeling sluggish. I'm not feeling as though I'm walking through quicksand or mud, as sometimes people will say. I feel pretty energetic, and we've got some good things going on here, some things we're looking forward to with my family, and so I'm excited about that. And when excitement is there, of course, energy is there. But I've been doing a good job of resting this week. I've got some good sleep over the last several nights. Got to bed much earlier than I usually do, so that is great. Some folks in my office have been encouraging me to do that as well, and that does set me up for a better fasting experience. Right? We'll talk about that when we do our fasting review. So physically, and I'm not feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty. I'm not feeling palpitations. Those symptoms typically will come for people who are not hydrating well, or people who have medications that they need to adjust, particularly if they're doing diabetes medications, when the blood sugar is going down, people who are on other medications that may cause changes in their blood pressure and their heart rate, because as we fast, right, in the process of fasting, a lot of those parameters get better. So if you are not adjusting those medications, not just the diabetes related medications, but medications that are treating cholesterol and blood pressure and so forth, and heart rate, then you can feel some of these symptoms: lightheadedness, sweatiness, dizziness, or even palpitations. Okay, so that's how I'm feeling physically. Mentally, this tends to go along with the physical. So if we are well rested, then hopefully our thought process is moving as we want. We're sharp and we are alert. When we're tired, as you know, that kind of goes away. Have you ever tried to do something or think about something or fill out a form or even read something when you are tired? I've tried it and it does not work. In fact, I remember when we first started this channel, I was doing a video, and we were not doing live videos at the time. I was doing a video and I was up late working on it, and I woke up to find myself on camera. And I went back and reviewed the camera, and in the middle of my video, I actually just kind of fell asleep. Right. So as you know, physically, mentally, right now I'm feeling pretty alert. I'm not feeling as though I'm walking through a bubble or foggy headed or any of those things that people will sometimes say relating to their thought process. And then emotionally, I actually started saying this at the beginning. I'm excited for some things that we're going to be doing with our family. And so this has been a good week. We had some changes in the office and folks were out, but got through the week and actually did well, had a good time. I am excited to be in my fast and excited that my blood sugars are better. If you've been following me the last couple weeks, you've heard me say that my blood sugars have been higher since I was sick several weeks ago. And they are not perfect, but they are now kind of looking like I expect them to look. And we'll see that here in just a minute. So physically, mentally, and emotionally, you want to make sure that you are checking in with yourself as we move through this process of becoming healthy and moving into a limitless life. Okay? All right. And then let's go ahead and take a look at my actual blood sugars. And so you'll see there on the screen, this is my Freestyle Libre. And right now the Freestyle Libre says that my blood sugar is 59. And one of the things that was causing me a little bit of a distress was that my blood sugars, since I've been ill the last several weeks, have been about 20 or 30 points higher, sometimes 40 points higher than they usually are. And so as I've been fasting, usually I expect my blood sugar within 24 hours to go below 100. And over the last couple of weeks, it has not been doing that. And then in the morning, as a result of the dawn phenomenon, my blood sugar would spike up maybe 120, if that high, but it's been going up to 150, 160, 170. And so as you see now, my blood sugar there is 59. If you see right in this area, this is my blood sugar, that squiggly line that's down at the bottom. You'll see we started below 100. And then the white part of that line says I went above 100 and then back down below 100. And we've kind of stayed below 100 over the course of the last almost 12 hours. Almost 6 hours from starting at noon. Okay. Now, if I take a look at my Dexcom G7, let's go here. You'll see similar things. This one I can actually put my finger and you should be able to see the numbers. And you see we started out below 100 and we popped up above 100 right there at 7:30-ish in the morning, and then started coming back down. And every now and then throughout the day we've popped up to 104, right above 100. And then for most of the afternoon now I've been kind of straddling 100 and upper 80s. Okay, so if I go back and look at 24 hours, going back 24 hours ago, we were in the 100s and we came down. It looks like the lowest that we had there was a 71 maybe. 67, right? And then what we just saw where, we spiked up around 9 a.m. and then have been coming back down over the course of the day. All right. So right now at 69 plus hours of fasting, this is where my blood sugar is. We're going to go ahead and take a look at what my monitors are saying that my blood sugars are. And so I've got my Contour, I've got my Keto Mojo, and Keto Mojo, of course, gives me glucose and ketones, and the Contour gives me ketones. So if you think you know what my ketones are going to be, go ahead and drop that in the comments. I do see one of our community members out there, so let me hop over and say hello. Let's see, where are we? There we are. All right, so Steve is with us, and Steve is saying hello. Hey, Steve, how are you doing? Glad that you are here hanging out with us. Happy Friday. So if you are out there, right, if you're out there, whatever platform you're on, go ahead. If you are fasting, say yes. If you are considering let me see, how to say this. So if you are fasting, put a 1. If you're considering fasting, put a 2. 1 if you're currently fasting. If you're considering fasting, put a 2. And if you have fasted within the past week, put a 3. So 1 for fasting currently, 2 I'm thinking about it, and 3 I did it sometime this week. Okay? All right, awesome. All right, so let's hop back over and let's take a look at blood sugars. So I want to get a strip out of my, grab a strip, and we're going to put that in here. Oh, I put it in the wrong meter. So this is the Contour. All right, and the Keto Mojo, I've got 2 strips for that one. So this one is the blood sugar strips. Let's get that and get that in here. And this is the one for the ketones, which I'm going to open just so I can have it off to the side. And then into my handy dandy container here to grab a lancet. Let's get that back over there. And then let's get this out. And so for this one, as I would say, I just grab it and I actually just stick my finger. I don't use a lancing device. And so the reason you see me kind of pressing and pausing is because with the lancing device, you get a brisk poke and you get a flow of blood. With this one, I've got to press and kind of get through. Let's see. Let's make sure we get. And this looks like it's a pretty brisk flow of blood here, so I don't think I'll have a problem getting more. So 87 for the Keto Mojo and 71 for the Contour. Let me go ahead and get this out and get the strip in there. So once again, if you think you know what my ketones are going to be, go ahead and drop that in the comments. Okay, and we'll let that kind of ride. And of course, I'm not going to show you what that is, because we'll come back to that here in just a minute or a little while. All right, but just remind me to do that, because a couple of shows ago I didn't. There we go. Okay, I have to try to turn this thing off. Okay. Thank you. Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look. And I am actually looking at my ketones, guys, and that doesn't make sense. So we're gonna do this again. So let me show you what it says. So here is. You guys see what that says? It says 0.1. Right, and that does not make any sense to me. So we're gonna try another one. And boom, and let's grab our lancet again. Okay. Battery looks like it's fine. And I got a blood sugar. All right, so let's go ahead and see if I can get a good drop of blood. Okay, I may need to. All right, come on, come on. Okay, started to run. I may need to go wash my hands and do that again. Okay, so we'll take a look at that here in just a minute. Okay, so we'll let that go and see what it comes back as. Okay, all right. So we're talking about fasting. We're talking about fasting, right? Successfully fasting, and how do we do that, right? And we're doing a review, and so we kind of set the premise for our fasting. And so whenever we're fasting, whenever I discuss fasting, there are three phases to fasting that I talk about. Number one, how I'm doing, preparing for the fast, getting through the fast successfully, and then, of course, breaking the fast. Those are the three places, three things that we talk about. So preparing for the fast is very important because how you prepare for the fast sets the tone for what goes on in the fast and how you successfully get out of the fast. Okay, so preparing for the fast, very important. And when we're preparing for the fast, one of the things that I want to encourage you is to understand that fasting is more than just about not eating. So the reason we're preparing is that it's not just about, okay, I'm not going to eat that food. There are lots of other important components that go along with it. So how you prepare for the fast determines ultimately the success of the fast. So you want to prepare physically, mentally, and emotionally. Look at that. Those three things that we talked about as we did our check-in, right? Because those are the big components of what goes on in fasting. It's a physical thing, so there are changes going on in your body. It's a mental thing, so there are thoughts that come up. There are urges that come up, there are cravings that come up, there are emotions that come up that play into food, and a lot of us do emotional eating. And then, of course, how you're feeling emotionally, because how you're feeling emotionally will have a direct effect on how things go when you are when you're fasting, when you're in the fast, and so forth. Okay, so we want to prepare physically, mentally, and emotionally. When you prepare, it allows you to determine your milestones. It allows you to set yourself up for success. It allows you to visualize. It allows you to get your mind and your brain and your environment and your interactions with people in a space that sets you up for the best possibility of success. So that is a reason. That's one of the reasons, or the major reason why we say we want to prepare, because it allows us to get into the fast successfully. So mental preparation is important because when we prepare mentally, we can set clear goals, right? We can understand why we're fasting. We can begin looking back at our why. You know, we talk about the why has to be strong enough to get you through some of the challenges that you will see or feel when you are fasting. So you want to make sure that you are looking at that during the preparation phase. It allows you to set clear goals. It allows you to visualize, as I mentioned before, because you can now imagine what is going to be happening. What are the benefits that you're having from fasting? How is this going to help me? What are some of the things that I will see? The metabolic changes that I will have, the blood sugar changes, the weight changes that we will have. One of the reasons that I monitor so much is because I want to see those things, because I've set certain goals for myself, certain milestones, and I'm visualizing myself getting to those milestones. Okay? And then we want to educate ourselves. We educate ourselves on the things that are going on, the things that should happen, the things that we will likely see in the fasting, right? We want to determine which fast we will use, which one is right for us. What are the steps in this particular fast? Are there different things that I will feel? Okay, if we're doing a 16-8 or a 24-hour fast or one meal a day or whatever type of fast that you are using, the question is, do you understand what's going on with that fast, and are you able to do it successfully? Because that is the goal ultimately for what we do. We want to be able to do it successfully, and that allows us. This allows us, when we're preparing mentally, allows us to be able to do that. Okay, and then aside from preparing mentally, we want to also look at our nutrition. So we're preparing nutritionally. So remember our bodies, right? So we're getting that in the place, getting it in the form, getting it in the right direction of what we need to do. So we want to set those clear goals on the mental. And then when we talk about nutrition, we want to begin reducing our carbs and our sugar. Now, this is an important point. And let me pause here for a minute as we get through it to spend some time. When you come into the fast, the things that you were eating before the fast have a direct impact on how quickly you get into the ketosis phase, if that's what you're looking for, how quickly your body then begins accessing the stored energy, that's the fat, right? So if you have just eaten something that's high in processed carbs, high in sugar, the body has to deal with all of that before it can get to the fat burning. And in the process of dealing with that, then we have high insulin levels. And remember, those high insulin levels are the problem in the first place. So coming into the fast, we want to begin reducing the sugars. We want to increase our healthy fats, because those healthy fats will help to keep us fuller longer through that initial phase. Eventually, we're going to feel the ketones that are there. The ketones are going to help us feel fuller longer. They're going to suppress the appetite. But until we get there, we don't want to feel as though we're hungry. And often when people have, when their stomach is empty, they perceive that as hunger. Okay, so it helps you feel fuller longer. You want to increase your protein, same idea, because protein sends a signal to the brain that says, hey, I'm full. It helps to slow the GI tract. Okay, you also want to determine specific meals that you will eat before the fast. Very important point, because if you are just going to grab something, you're going to probably grab whatever is available, which may not be the appropriate thing for the getting into the fast. Because when we tend to grab things that are high in carbs, right? Okay. And you want to gradually reduce your eating window. So if you are doing, particularly if you're doing an extended fast, 16-hour fast, then you want to begin the days leading up to fasting, reducing the time when you're eating so that you are ending up in the fast. So if you normally eat every 4 hours, right? And you eat during an 8-hour period. So you eat, breakfast at 10 o'clock and you end your eating at 6 o'clock at night. So that's 8 hours. So what you want to do is you want to start eating breakfast at noon, end at 6. Then maybe you push a brunch to 1 o'clock and you end at 6. And then maybe you have a small snack at 3 and you end at 6. Until now, for that 24 hours, starting at 6 o'clock, we're fasting until 6 p.m. the next day. Okay, so that's a 24-hour fast, if that's what you're doing. If you're doing some of the other fasts, you can adjust that, what I just described, accordingly to fit the type of fast and the number of hours that you're fasting. Okay? All right. So preparing for the fast. So preparing mentally, preparing nutritionally, and then, of course, we want to also prepare in terms of how we're doing with our hydration. Because if you are not hydrated, you will feel symptoms such as lightheadedness, sweatiness, dizziness, as we described earlier in my check-in. Make sure you're drinking enough water coming into the fast to prepare yourself before you get into the fast. You want to ensure that you have adequate intake of electrolytes, right? You may want to use some electrolyte formulas, right? There are lots of things on the market. When you're doing that, be careful with the carb content, right? The sugar, the carbohydrates that are in them. You don't want to have anything that's highly sugary, right? Because those will give you electrolytes, but that goes against what we are trying to do. You can drink herbal teas like green tea, chamomile tea, peppermint. These will help with hydration, and they will also help to relax you as you move into the fast. So very good, very good place, things that you can use there. Also, we want to prepare physically. We want to ensure that we are setting ourselves up for the best possibility of success. So this is not the time to start a new strenuous workout. This is not the time to start a marathon or training for a marathon or run a marathon. We want to do light exercises during this time, and you want to start leading up to this, walking, swimming, yoga, something like that, unless you are doing fasting workouts. And fasting workouts is a whole nother conversation, but this is where people essentially are fasting and working out because they are trying to build muscle, build bulk, because during fasting, growth hormone levels go up, the body makes ketones, beta-hydroxybutyrate, the one that our body likes, and muscles love that combination of growth hormone and beta-hydroxybutyrate, so you bulk up faster, and bulk up, you get bigger, right? So people do fasting workouts. Unless you're doing that, you want to be reducing your activity to light exercises, not no exercises, light exercises. For example, our walk in the morning that we're doing, 25, 30 minutes, great place to use that is when you're fasting, okay? So reduce your strenuous exercise 1 to 2 days before you start fasting. You want to aim for at least 7 hours of quality sleep. I got to raise my hand to say that's been my struggle. You want to get 7 hours of quality sleep. Not just laying in the bed, but where you're actually sleeping. Not laying in the bed watching TV or scrolling on the phone, but where you're actually sleeping. Because when you do that, then you have energy. And when the body begins transitioning from burning carbohydrates to burning sugar, then you are able to, you don't feel that as profoundly. When you don't, then when the energy dips as that transition is happening, because you're already exhausted because you weren't resting, you're like, oh my goodness, this feels like terrible. I'm hitting a wall. I can't move. I can't think. I can't, whatever it is, but it's because we're not rested. Okay? And then we want to begin reducing caffeine or energy drinks because we don't want to stimulate ourselves as we move into the fasting. And you don't want to have to go through some of those withdrawal symptoms that you sometimes will see, that you will feel, okay? You also want to begin, we're looking at your environment. Clear out temptations. I'm pausing there. Clear out temptations. Remove unhealthy snacks. Now notice that I crossed out the word unhealthy and it's just remove snacks. I was talking to someone yesterday and I was explaining there is really no physiologic reason for snacking. Snacking happens often because of habit, because of boredom, because of fatigue, because of emotions. Remember the HEAT model, habits, emotions, access, and taste? That's why snacking happens. And so if we can deal with those, then there's really not a reason for snacking. So removing those things from our environment so that we don't have ready access to them. Because remember, access is one of those triggers. When things are there, even though if they weren't there and we had an emotional trigger, we probably wouldn't get those, or we would have to drive to go get it. But if we have that emotion that comes up and it's right there, readily accessible, then we grab it and of course we're eating, okay? So you want to create a fasting-friendly zone. Fasting-friendly zone. Keep your kitchen, right, stacked with healthy teas, water, fasting supplements, right, so that you can have those, because those are good. Because sometimes we feel dehydrated and we think that we're hungry. And it's not hunger, it's just that we don't have enough fluid in. And then you want to prepare distractions. Plan on reading, walking, a hobby, getting together with friends where it's not associated with food or related to food. All of that will distract you. And a big part of why we have difficulty getting through fasts is that we're not distracted. We're bored. We're not doing anything. So if you're fasting and you're like, well, I'm going to fast on Sunday or I'm going to fast on Saturday, and on Saturday you're just hanging around the house, guess what? Yeah, the temptation is going to be there to eat. But if you fast during the week when you're busy, you're at work, you're working for 8 hours, you go to sleep, that's another 8 hours, 7, 8 hours. So when you're done, you are already have used up 16 hours. And so the mind is easier, you find it easier to get through the fast. So distract yourself, right? So you want to prepare your environment. In addition to preparing our environment, we want to prepare emotionally and socially. Because emotional fasting, once again, is not just not eating. It encompasses a lot of our time and of our environment. When I say that, it's not that it's a burdensome thing. It's just that fasting is a holistic look at how we are doing. When you're fasting, a lot of the things that we use food for, to ease, to comfort, when you're fasting, you don't have access to that. Right? You have to face that thing head on. So that relationship that is having difficulty, when you're fasting, you can't go eat to feel better. So what do you have to do? You've got to now deal with that relationship. Right? So that's just an example. You want to identify your triggers. What are the things that push you to eat, to get off of your eating plan, right? What are the things that lead you to eat? Habits, emotions, access, and taste. That's the heat. That's the heat model. And then, of course, community. Join a group to support your fasting goals, right? It's a great place to be, right? Educate, we empower, and we encourage. We encourage with community. Community is what you're a part of. Community is what we are using as that support system, the place you can go and talk about how you're doing. The fact that you've got some chocolate in the car, or the fact that you were trying to fast for 36 hours and you didn't make it, okay? So not to beat you up, but to understand that you're not alone, and there are people that are out there that are supporting you, that we're out here supporting you. If you want to go somewhere, go by yourself. If you want to go far and you want to go and be successful and go long, then you want to make sure that you are going with people. Okay? All right, so that's emotional, right? Emotional. So physical, emotional. So what are some takeaways from preparing for the fast? Number one, preparation is key. It is very important that you prepare, particularly if you've not fasted before, this is your first time. Even if you're doing some of the shorter fasts, the 12 and 12, the 16 and 8, prepare. Preparation is key. You want to prepare mentally. You want to get good rest. You want to eat nutrient-dense meals leading up to the fast, and you want to get into community. All right. And so let me hop over and let's say hello to community members again. And I see some folks out there. Let's see, what do we got? So Jennifer popped in. Hey, Jennifer. Oh, let me go back up. So Steve says that he's trying to fast for 36 hours. He did breakfast this morning, and then he's going for 36 hours. Yay, Steve. Good for you. Now, one thing, and as we're going through these comments, I want to let's talk through some of them. One of the things that that I talk about is monitoring, okay, and tracking. So when we're fasting, I am going to recommend, and I've not said this before, so let's say it now. I'm going to recommend that you get a journal, and in the journal, begin documenting your fasting experience. So we're tracking, right? So if you're fasting for 24 hours and you're going to do this once a week, then on the calendar, right, in your journal, say, okay, week number 1, fasted successfully. This is what I experienced. Week number 2, fasted successfully. This is what I experienced. Week number 3, only got to 12 hours. This is what happened. So begin documenting that. And then if you're doing some of the extended fast, 36, 36 like Steve, 48, 72 hours. We have one of our community members that is that did a 5-day fast, and one that's doing a more extensive fast, so that you can begin crossing those off and documenting what you're doing, because the fasting experience is an experience. You are learning things as you move through those spaces. Okay, so Steve, good that you're doing that, and we look forward to seeing how that goes with you. Let us know. Okay, Jennifer is saying howdy. Steve saying hello to Jennifer. And Jennifer says, after a 6-month stall in weight loss, I finally dropped below 100. Ooh, I'm not even going to finish that quite yet, Jennifer. Congratulations. We were talking about this in our post-show talk yesterday. So good for you. She said, I've dropped below 100. I finally dropped lower. Back under 200 again. So you're in the wonderland, Jennifer. Hope I don't freak out and rebound. Jennifer, I'm going to hold on to that comment because I want to come back to it. But congratulations. I'm so proud of you, so excited for you, and the benefit that you're getting. Okay? So Steve says, that's great, Jennifer. Jennifer says, keeping ketosis going by eating strict keto for this week. Okay, so she's in a keto week this week. So be interesting to see. And Jennifer, we look forward to hearing about that. Jennifer said, that's what we do. That is what we do. Steve says, Jennifer, that's what we do. Yes. Well, let me back up to that. So Steve is saying that that's what he does, him and his wife. So Steve, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm always impressed, Steve, with the ketone numbers you're getting, and as I hear your story, it is inspiring not just to me but to everyone else, as we are moving through this space and kind of hearing the success that you're having. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. And then Jennifer says, was at 190 this morning. 190.3 was here last June. Then my brain thought that was a bad idea and regained to 218. Brain thought I was a fat person. Been working on that. Ready to lose again. Sorry, she said 199. 199. Okay. Yeah, Jennifer. So 199, that's below 100. Yes, I'm excited for that. So thank you for sharing. Ooh. All right. So let's get back to our check-in, or our conversation. So those were our takeaways. And so the next thing that we want to talk about is how we get through the fast, right? So fasting, preparing for the fast, fasting successfully, and then getting through the fast. And what I want to do is I'm going to run through the first 24 hours quickly, and then I want to come and I want to do a little bit more about some of the longer parts of fasting, right? So fasting, so when we talk about fasting, typically we do 24-hour periods, so 0 to 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours, and then 48 to 72 hours. And then the first 24 hours is broken up into smaller chunks, right? So the first part of that, the first 6 hours, is actually called the postprandial phase. This is where the body is actually just now breaking down the food. Insulin levels are high because we tend to eat carbs, and blood sugars are high. We have lots of energy during this time, and the body's just really kind of dealing with the food that you just ate. Okay, that's the postprandial period. The next period is what's called the early fasting phase. And the early fasting phase is where we've broken down the food, we've extracted energy, sugar from it. We started sending things to different places for storage. We're using some of the food for energy, for running your brain and your heart and your lung and your muscles and all those components and keeping you alive. But we've also taken some of that stuff and we've sequestered it and sent it to different places. The blood sugars start to go down, and as a result, the insulin level starts to go down, and glycogenolysis is happening. So the body's breaking down the carbohydrates that are in the liver, and are now giving that back to you. Okay. One point to make here is that we often talk about energy and we talk about the food, and we say when we eat food, the food has to go either to fat, or the body uses it. One point that I want to make, and I realized that I've not been saying this, right? Thought it was understood, but I was listening to someone else on another platform explain this, and saying that sometimes we make it as though it's either fat or it's using up right now. But remember, there are other things that go on in the body. If you look at our show from Dwain Woode MD this past Monday, we talked about metabolism. And so metabolism says that we are building or we are storing. Right? Storing is the fat, of course. The building is using energy to keep your heart going and your lungs and brain and all those, but also making proteins. So muscles and bone, and creating the enzymes that are required to do all the processes in your body, right? So those things are going on as well, and they require energy. So when we are talking about keeping your body running, it's not just keeping the organs running, it's also building, as in keeping the structure of the body going. Not necessarily fat cells, but other structural components. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I said that, so that we all don't just think that everything is either going to fat or is going to like run my heart, right? There are other things that are going on, other components, so that when we eat, the body has to put those into those spaces to keep things running, and then the excess gets stored as fat. Or if insulin is on, it goes there quicker than probably we want. Okay, so early that's the early fasting stage. The next one is when we talk about transitioning to using fat. So this is the place where often people can feel a dip in energy as the body is converting from using carbohydrates to using fat, and the levels of glucose are becoming well depleted. Insulin levels are dropping. The body's now having to look to see where else energy is, and starting to think about breaking that down, and we're transitioning to burning actual fat. So this is going on 12 to 18 hours. Okay, so as you are fasting, if you're doing, for instance, a 12 and 12, just at the point where your body is now beginning to start to look at burning fat cells, then we often eat again. With a 12 and 12, you are getting the lower blood sugars because you're not eating during that time, so you're allowing your body to have those blood sugars go down. You're allowing the insulin levels to begin dropping. You're allowing your body to rest, and all those things that go along, all the things that we talk about. But if you are starting to eat at that point, then you are now putting stuff back in, and so the body starts over. Okay, so it's not that you're not getting benefit, but we get benefit. We get those enhanced benefits with some of the more the longer fasts. Okay, all right. So that's the 12 to 18 hours. The next is this 18 to 24 hours, and this is where ketosis begins, or begins in earnest. Okay, so we've used up all the sugar in the blood that's floating around. We've used up what's in the liver, because it takes about 24 hours for glycogen to go away. And so the body now says, I don't have any ready access to energy. I need to go find some. Where can I find some? Okay, there are the fat cells. Let me start burning that. Okay, so that is ketosis. That's where ketosis begins. And next, we get fat adaptation as we move into the 24 to 30 hours. And fat adaptation is where the body is now fully engaged with burning fat. That's what we're using as our source of energy. It's kind of like that hybrid car. When the gas goes down, when the gas goes out or near ending, then we switch over to the battery, and that's what we're using right now. So the body, during this process, is using fat for energy. Okay? And then I want to, we're going to hop over, and what I want to do is I want to get into some of the more extended times in fasting. So we've talked about 24 hours, right? And during the 24 hours, the transition to fat metabolism, that's what we just described, 24 to 30 hour. And so physically, the liver glycogen stores have really been depleted. And some people feel that they are having mental clarity. They're having a boost in their thought process during the 24-hour period. Okay, the 24-5-hour period, we have ketosis, mild ketosis, and this is where typically we'll have ketones that are in the 0.5s, 0.5, 0.6, and as we get further into the fast, then the ketones get higher and higher. Energy levels might seem as though they're dipping, right? They might fluctuate as the body's making that transition, right? So we're right at the point where we're changing over from gas to battery. Okay, right at that point. And so some people may feel that as fluctuation in energy. And of course, 26 hours, we have increased lipolysis. So lipolysis is breaking down of lipids. So we're having increased breakdown of the fat cells. The fat breakdown is augmented. It is enhanced during this process. And this leads to increased ketones. It leads to increased fatty acid oxidation. Right? So we're breaking it down, and we have continued thought clarity because we're breaking down those fats and we're creating those ketones. And the ketones that we're looking at are the beta hydroxybutyrate. Okay, that's what's going on in this period. And then 27 hours, autophagy increases. So autophagy has already started, right? And that's the cellular cleanup process. It's already started, but now it is like getting supercharged. And so autophagy is that cleanup process that the body goes through where it takes damaged, unused, broken cells, it sends them off to recycling, and then brings them back as other components, better, stronger, more efficient components in our bodies. So autophagy is in full force, and it's increasing at that time. At 28 hours, we start to see some hormonal changes. So hormonal adjustments. So insulin levels, of course, are going down. Sensitivity is beginning to improve so that any insulin that's in the body is now just doing the job of maintaining blood sugar. And so our body doesn't need as much insulin. Often when people begin fasting, they will have to drop their insulin significantly the day before they fast, during the fast itself, and the day after fast. For a lot of people, they find that the days after fasting, let me say that, they find that the days after fasting, they don't require as much diabetes medication, even though they may be eating things that are carby or have carbs or sugar, because the body has become much more sensitized to the insulin that it's making, or even insulin that they're taking from outside. So for a lot of people, I will say the day before fasting, you want to decrease your medication. Of course, we're decreasing it the day of fasting, and then of course we can in some cases not use any the days following fast. Make sure that you're talking to your healthcare provider as we're saying this. Okay, all right. That's 28 hours. And then 29 hours, we have deepening ketosis. So things are just revving up now. And you've seen, as I've gone further and further into ketosis, that the ketones get higher and higher and higher. I think we were 1.8 last night. Apparently something is going on with my Keto Mojo right now, so I'm not sure what's happening there. 30 hours, we have full ketosis that's going on. The body is now fully engaged in using using fat for energy, and we are getting those ketones, and the ketones are in full force. And then we get to 32 to 36 hours. I think Steve is saying he's going to go to 36 hours. And physically and cognitive state. So these hours are just enhanced with energy. Our appetite is suppressed because ketones are in full force. Some highlights of this: the body and brain are now fully adapted. They're fully now using using fat. I keep saying carbohydrates. They're fully now using fat for the process. And as you see those ketones that are continuing to be high, that means that your body is continually producing ketones. Well, where's it getting ketones from? Well, it's coming from the fat cells. And that means it's burning fat cells. And so we get significant weight loss as we move into these spaces. Okay. So 36 to 48 hours, increased cellular repair. So autophagy now is in full force. It is going throughout the body and beginning to repair those broken, damaged cells. This is, when we talk about autophagy, this is where people talk about the improvement in not mentation, but those improvement in the neurodegenerative diseases. I had to process that for a minute. Those neurodegenerative diseases, right? So we get enhanced benefit from that. This is where we have improvement with people who talk about having improvement with neuropathy, multiple sclerosis, immunity, right? So improved inflammation is one of the things that we see, okay? And that is the 36 to 42 hour 42-hour mark. And then as we get into the longer fast, hormonal optimization. And so now insulin is as low as it's going to be. The ketones are elevated because the sugar is low, insulin is gone. And so cortisol now begins to come down to take some of the stress off of the body as we are fully engaged in the use of energy from fat cells. Okay. All right. So I wanted to do a little bit more extensive in terms of the fasting for a longer fast. As we talk that, we usually stop at 24 hours, but that gives an idea of some of the other things that are going on as we are fasting into those longer spaces. And then we want to talk, as we talked about, we want to fast properly, prepare for the fast. We want to get through the fast, and then of course we want to break the fast. And so when we're breaking the fast, what's important, some key pieces that I want you to know is, one, you want to make sure that you are monitoring. In all that we do, monitoring is a huge component, right? So we're monitoring blood sugars, we're monitoring ketones, we're monitoring what we're eating, how we're feeling physically, mentally, emotionally. All of that is the idea of monitoring, okay? So we want to make sure that we are monitoring. Next, we want to make sure that you are looking at the portions. So we don't want to get out there and just because we fasted, just start gorging on whatever it is, right? I saw my ophthalmologist today, and he said that I have improvement in my eyes, right? So I had some diabetic retinopathy. So he said I have improvement in my eyes. He said, this is not to tell you now you can go out and eat cheesecake. or gobble down some cheesecake. So once again, right? So because we fasted, we've had some good responses. That doesn't mean that we can then eat whatever we want, all that we want. One of the things that is a challenge sometimes, and I'll tell you it's a challenge for me, is in my brain. My brain says, because this is healthy, I can eat a lot more of it. I'm gonna pause because I think that happens for a lot of people. Okay. All right. So portion control, and then we want to eat slowly. It takes about 20 minutes for a signal to get from your stomach to your brain that you're full. So if you just gobble things down, then you're eating, and it takes 20 minutes. So you've already overeaten 15, 20 minutes ago. Right. So slow down, chew your food like they used to tell us, and enjoy, savor the food. And then you want to avoid sugary, highly processed foods, because that can set you up for difficulty down the road. Okay. All right. So for the breaking of the fast, I want to make sure that you know that the things that we do for preparing for the fast, the hydration, the protein, the healthy fats, are some of the same things that we do as we are moving through breaking the fast. Okay. So you want to do protein, so eggs, chicken, tofu. For those of you who are vegetarian or vegan, And then healthy fats, avocados, great place. Nuts, seeds, right? Great place for you to get fat. You get some carb, you get some fiber as well in there. I am going to, and let me pull this over. This is something that I got from the cafeteria yesterday. So I'm going to be using this to break my fast. So it's a salad, and it's got some mixed lettuce down there, mixed greens down there. I've got, let's see, some cheese. There are some banana peppers. There, we've got some tomatoes, some cucumbers. I don't think I put eggs on this one. And then I've got some sunflower seeds. Okay? So this is what I'm going to be using to break my fast. So I've got things that are not highly carb. I've got some protein in there. I've got some fat in there. Probably won't eat this whole thing. Probably eat half of it. But this is what I'm intending to use to break my fast here in just a little while. Right. So we're let's see, what is it? 2 hours away. So 70 hours in our fast for this week. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's what we're doing. So back to our breaking the fast. So healthy fats, we want to make sure we're doing that. Remember, broths are very important, and broths will help you as you break the fast. You won't, depending on the broth that you get. Let me say it that way. So if you're making it like Jennifer does all the time, so Jennifer, you got to send us some. You need to start Jennifer's brand. But if you are making it yourself, you know what you're putting in. If you do a constituted or one that you have to reconstitute, you want to make sure that you're looking at the carbs and the sugar, right? Because sometimes they'll thicken that up or put some thickener in it, and it'll be flour based, and so the blood sugar can spike if you don't pay attention. If you remember, when I did the Yuka app, when I did the Yuka app. That was one of the things that I found, and let me pull that up. You'll recall the Yuka app is just an app that allows us to look at different foods, and I'm going to scroll back here and see if I could find. That was early on. I don't use it much anymore, but it tells you about the different foods, and what I'm trying to find is the version of the broth that I was using at the beginning. And when I looked at it, it turns out that it had carbs in there, which I didn't want. Let's see. Okay, when I find that, I'll pull it up. But you get the idea. You want to make sure that you're looking at looking at the package if you're not making it yourself. Also, here's another one. When you're doing the electrolytes, you want to look at that as well, because this one, for example, okay, this was the good one. This one was the one that I was using, and then when I looked at it, it said 0 calories, but it actually had, was this the one that had the sugar? No, because I don't see sugar. But if you recall, when we did our show, we had a brand that I had picked up and I was using, and my blood sugars were actually rising a little bit. And I was like, wait a minute. So I went back and I looked at the packaging, and it had like 2 grams of carbs, 2 grams of sugar that was in it. Okay. All right. So I can't find that one right now, but you get the idea. Make sure that you're looking at those, make sure that you're looking at those packages. So broths are very good. And then as we are looking at breaking the fast, some considerations that you want to do. You want to make sure that you're paying attention. You want to choose foods that are fasting friendly. You want to choose foods that help you maintain nutrition. You want to choose foods that don't spike the blood sugar and cause insulin to come out. You want to choose foods that have low glycemic index, and that usually, as we talk about, 50 or lower. Lean protein, healthy fats, and you want to make sure that you stay hydrated. Okay? So make sure that you are keeping that in mind as we're working through the fasting, because it is important how you break the fast, because how you break the fast, if you don't do it well, you can undo the things that you did during the fast. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I ended my fast and I ate a salad, just like I'm planning to do tonight. All right, so I ate a salad, And then I decided, well, that Cadbury that I had bought, you remember, guys, I did that show where I did that. The Cadbury was going to taste so good. And so I had the Cadbury, and of course my blood sugar spiked up. Okay. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. What else? Yeah. So I think I see some folks that are out there. Let's hop back over. So Jennifer, we were talking about her weight. So Jennifer, yay, congratulations, down to 199. And let's see. So Steve says you're doing great. Oh, let's go back. She said she got my A1C score today. 6 months ago, I was 5.4. This week, I was 5.3. Jennifer, yes. Congratulations. That is awesome. Steve says you're doing great, Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you. It's a struggle worth winning. Yes, it is. Remember, our limitless living says that we are breaking free from those obstacles. We are presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our future and our life. We're not allowing anything from outside or inside to prevent us from getting there. So the struggle is worth it. And of course, Steve says definitely. And hey guys, I see a friend of mine, Wedem there. You're awesome. You're awesome with it. Hey man, thank you for coming through. So you got the accent, right? I said true. Yeah. That's the Caribbean accent coming out there. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, everybody. So as I say, remember what we are working through and what we're working on. We are building everything on our Triple E formula for success. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows, with the podcast, with the blog. We encourage with the tools that we're learning, such as fasting, such as balanced bites, such as how to create a menu. We talked earlier about, we talked yesterday about GLPs. That's another tool. So all of these are tools that we are learning in order to give ourselves the best possibility of success. And then we empower, and we empower with this amazing community that you are part of, that you're helping to build and helping to grow. Okay. Make sure that you get into the community. I did not put the link up, so let me go ahead and do that now. So we'll do our post-show discussion for whoever pops in. Great place for us to have some conversation. So for all of you, I'm going to put this in the member area here in just a minute. But we build everything on the Triple E formula for success. Remember, 91.4% of the things that we worry about, 91.4% of the things that we're anxious about, 91.4% of the things that are in our thought process that push our buttons, that push us to eat, 91.4% never come true. Let me pause. 91.4. So one of the things that we are learning as we are moving through the limitless living process is we're learning where are those triggers? What are those things that we need to be looking at? What are those things that we need to be cautious of so that we set ourselves up for the best possibility of success with respect to that, right? And part of that is dealing with those things that are pushing our buttons. Just yesterday, I was telling you guys that in my digital organizer, I added a phrase there that says, I am right now doing what I need to do to be successful for my body. And so there are some conversations I've had recently with some folks. There are some thoughts that I've had recently in my mind. There are some things that I'm formulating in my mind that says, I have to do what is best for this body. And I can't allow that conversation. I can't allow that thought. I can't allow that behavior to push that button that causes me then to end up in the car eating Cadbury chocolates. Okay? 91.4%. And then remember that we are, as we say on the back of my mug, and as you've heard me say, we're breaking free from those boundaries. We are presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans. We're not allowing anything from outside of us or anything that's inside of us to prevent us from being and doing what we need to do for our health. Okay, so I just dropped that link in the member area, so make sure you get there. And we're glad that you're here. As I always say, this is a space where we are creating the best version of ourselves. And as a result of that, that is what powers our limitless living for this year. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, we will be here with video from the vault. On Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Central, This Week in Review. And then on Monday, we'll have Dwain Woode, MD. It will likely be a recorded video. But as I told some of our community members in the group, you know me. We're going to do our best to be in this space. But you may end up seeing a recorded video. Make sure you join there. Make sure you encourage each other as we're moving through that space. And we will see you at our next video. Thank you for being here. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And we are in the process of limitless living. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.